single dad chef fed a crying baby and his recipe left her billionaire mom in tears. The cafeteria was nearly empty that evening, the clatter of pans had quieted, and the rich aroma of roasted garlic and butter still lingered in the air. Daniel, a single dad and head chef, stayed behind to clean the counters. His shift was long over, but with bills piled high and a 5-year-old daughter waiting at home, every extra hour mattered. The overhead lights hummed softly as he wiped the last table, his thoughts drifting. He pictured his daughter, Lily, asleep with her favorite stuffed bunny, the same one she had clutched every night since her mother passed. He often whispered promises to her, "I'll make it work, I'll keep us safe." Some nights he believed them, other nights, exhaustion threatened to crush him. That was when he heard Ida soft at first, then rising, the sharp, fragile wail of a baby. Daniel froze, his heart thudding. The cry wasn't background noisy, it pierced the quiet like a siren. He knew those cries. He had lived them on nights when Lily refused sleep, when grief made her inconsolable. He followed the sound and saw her, a woman, immaculately dressed, diamonds glinting under the fluorescent lights. She looked out of place in the modest cafeteria, like a queen who had wandered into the wrong castle. In front of her sat a stroller, and inside it, a red-faced infant, fists clenched, lungs straining. The woman bounced, whispered, rocked, but nothing worked. Her manicured hands trembled, her eyes aligned with exhaustion and betrayed sleepless nights. Daniel's chest tightened. He had been that parent once, helpless, desperate, ready to cry alongside his child. "Sometimes," he said gently, his voice cutting through the storm of wails, "it's not the rocking or the shushing. Sometimes as a broken bar they're just hungry." The woman whipped her head up, startled. Her eyes were sharp, like a cornered animal, yet filled with desperation. "I tried everything," she admitted, her voice cracking. "She won't take the bottle." Daniel stepped closer, careful not to overwhelm. He crouched down, level with the baby, softening his voice as though he were speaking to Lily. "She might need real food, just a little. May I try something?" The woman blinked, clearly torn between pride and need. Finally, she nodded. Daniel rose and hurried into the kitchen. His movements were instinctive, guided by memory rather than recipe. He pulled roasted carrots from a pan, mashed them into a creamy blend, and added a sprinkle of cinnamon the way his late wife used to. He remembered her smile when Lily had finally taken her first bites. That memory alone steadied his hands. Within minutes, he returned with a small spoon. "May I?" he asked again. The woman's lips trembled. She gave a tiny nod. Daniel offered the spoon. The baby, curious despite her tears, opened her mouth. One bite, then another. The cries softened into hiccups, then, miraculously, into giggles that echoed through the empty cafeteria like sunlight breaking through clouds. The woman stared, stunned, her eyes brimmed with tears she could no longer control. "What did you put in it?" she whispered. "Love," Daniel said simply. "And carrots." A shaky laugh escaped her, but the tears flowed freely now, and not of exhaustion, but of release. "I built empires," she confessed suddenly. Her words tumbled out as though a dam had broken. "I can buy anything, but I couldn't stop my baby's cries." "And you, a broken bar?" "A stranger, a broken bar did this in minutes." Daniel lowered his gaze, embarrassed. "I just did what any dad would do." But to her, it was more. She sat heavily at the table, her poise slipping. "Do you know who I am?" she asked softly. Daniel shrugged. "A mother who loves her child." She looked at him, startled. People usually recognized her immediately as the billionaire CEO gracing magazine covers, praised for her ruthless efficiency. But this man saw only a mother. "My name is Evelyn Hart," she admitted. "I walked away from a loveless marriage. I thought with all my wealth, I could give my daughter the best. Nannies, formula, specialists, a broken bar, yet she still cries. And here you are, just a man with a spoon and some carrots, and you've given her peace." Danielle smiled faintly. "Money buys a lot of things, but babies don't care about riches. They just need to feel loved." The words hit Evelyn harder than she expected. She had spent years building walls of glass towers in boardrooms, but in that cafeteria, with her daughter quiet in a stranger's care, she realized how empty it all felt. For a long while, silence filled the room, broken only by the baby's content coos. Evelyn wiped her tears and whispered, "You have no idea what you've given me. Not just food. Hope. A reminder that my daughter doesn't need perfection, she needs love." Daniel's voice softened. "That's the only recipe I know." She reached across the table, pressing her hand against his. "I came here for a meal, a broken bar, and found a lesson. You've given me something I couldn't buy, and I won't forget it." Later that night, Daniel walked home under the streetlights, his daughter asleep in his arms after dozing off at the babysitter's. He adjusted her weight, breathing in the scent of shampoo and crayons in her hair. As he carried her, his mind replayed the evening. He had fed countless people in his life, but that night felt different. He hadn't just filled a stomach, he had touched a soul. When they reached their small apartment, he tucked Lily into bed. She stirred, half asleep. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart." "Why do you always smell like cinnamon?" she murmured. Daniel smiled, his chest warming. "Because cinnamon means love, baby girl." She drifted back into dreams, leaving Daniel in the quiet glow of the nightlight. He sat at the edge of the bed, realizing something profound. Acts of kindness don't just change others, so they ripple back, filling the giver's own heart with strength. Meanwhile, Evelyn sat in the back of her limousine, her baby peacefully asleep beside her. For the first time in weeks, silence felt comforting instead of oppressive. She stared out the window, the city lights blurring with her tears. She thought about board meetings, acquisitions, contracts, of things that once defined her worth. None of it mattered compared to the sight of her daughter giggling after that first spoonful. She made a silent vow that night, to slow down, to be present, to learn the simple recipes of love she had overlooked in her race for success. And she knew she would return to that humble cafeteria again, and not for the food, but for the reminder that humanity often hides in the simplest gestures. The billionaire mom would never see food the same way again, and Daniel would never underestimate the power of a simple meal, prepared with love. Because sometimes, the smallest gestures feed more than hunger. They feed the soul.